Hi, everyone, and welcome to Youth Amplified,
a podcast that inspires, empowers, and connects. I'm Brian.
And I'm Ronna. And in the spotlight today, the price of purpose. Volunteering in a selfie world. Is it about making a difference or making an impression?
Well, we're joined around the table today by more people than we usually have around this little table. So we've got Saira with us, Tiana, Lynuel, Fruean, Chair of the New South Wales Council of Pacific Communities. Actually, I should say Fruean OAM, shouldn't I, Mal? Okay. Aruzhan, Yousef, and Daley. So it's a great panel, Ronna. Let's get right in.
Let's do it. So, Saira, you're first up. Is volunteering today more about helping others or helping ourselves feel good?
I think I'm going to cheat my way with that answer. I think people feel good about volunteering because they know that they're helping others. I think volunteering is good for your own mental health, in fact. So I think of it as a two-way street. I don't think of it being necessarily selfish. But yeah, I think it's a two-way street, and there's nothing really wrong with that if you lean towards one way or the other.
Great answer.
Lovely. What would you think, Mal?
Volunteering. If you want to find yourself, that's the opportunity to volunteer.
I'm wondering, has doing good become another form of showing off online? What do you think?
To some extent, I would have to agree with that statement. For example, when you go on social media, you see a lot of so-called influencer and celebrities doing charity work and volunteering. However, off the camera, they might seem as arrogant or as not as sympathetic. But on the other side, social media also helps to spread us awareness about volunteering and the importance of it, and also motivate young people such as us, which we significantly spend time in social media platforms. So I feel like they can also get inspired from there. So even if it's just being an act or a performative, it has a good and a bad side of it.
Some good points there, Aruzhan. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Tiana, I'll turn to you.
Yeah.
So what's the real cost of giving your time? And is it worth it?
Well, you may be giving up a weekend or, some time from school. But essentially, it's all worth it. Like, depending on what charity or volunteer work you do, it's all worth your while, impacting someone's life in a way that, it's far beyond yourself. I think that's very important, which I think is why we all enjoy volunteering.
Yousef, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I would actually. For me personally, time is my most valuable asset. But when it comes to volunteering, I don't focus on the time I'm losing. I'm actually focusing on the advantages, the impact I'm making on my community, like the lives I'm supporting, and that's what I care about. That's what I focus more on.
Daley, are you into music?
Yes, I am.
Lovely. Well, if your volunteering journey had a theme song, what would it be? And maybe why?
On the way here, I was listening to Leo Slayer's You Make Me Feel Like Dancing. Main reason being, when I'm out in the community doing some volunteer work, sometimes when I get nervous, I feel like communicating and spreading good energy, just like the song does for me. So.
Fantastic. Anyone else got a theme song here? What about you, Lynuel?
There's a song that actually comes to mind from the recent Superman movie. It was called Punk Rocker.
Oh, yes.
And it's a very symbolic song to me where kindness in my everyday actions has an impact, and volunteering is quite a big manifestation of that. So,
excellent.
Nice. We'll stay with you. Next question is, how do you measure the impact of volunteering? Is it the number of hours, the number of lives touched, or likes gained?
I think throughout my volunteering experience, mostly focused in university, one key concept comes to me. It's called lollipop moments. And so what that means is that whether your actions are forgettable and they're minuscule, as in the scale is quite small. Maybe you just checked up on someone to see if their mental health was doing okay, or you offered food, piece of advice. Even though you might not remember that moment yourself, being able to, that impact might be much greater for the person who receives that. And having touched their lives has the opportunity to inspire more action and goodwill.
Stuff.
Really? Mal, you've been a volunteer virtually all your life. Would you like to add anything to that? How do you measure the impact, Mal, of volunteering?
Well, first of all, I want to say, wow, to be seated at the table with young people. Well done. Well done to you too, and well done to the young people that are here. You know, everything I do now, I learned through my volunteering. And way back then, when I felt I had nothing to give, when in actual fact, each of us has something to give. And how do you measure that? Lots of different ways. Yeah, not that you do it because, okay, what am I going to get out of this? Right? You serve because we say serve, the same as volunteering. You serve because you want to serve. And that comes back in lots of different ways, whether it's somebody that you'll meet that you were blessed to serve 35 years ago, and you get to meet them and you hear what they're doing, and now they too and their children are serving. It's priceless, really. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we'll stay with you, Mel, because this is a question that's been often asked on social media as well. And that's, is volunteering becoming the new social status symbol? You know, like having the right causes in your biodata.
You would have to give that one across to me, would you? No, well, I'm going to speak for myself, right? You know, it's none of those things. We serve because we want to serve the people. Yeah. But let's be real too, that, you know, all the social media stuff that's happening, there's that whole, have you posted it, are you sharing it, have you seen that one, seen this one? But you captured something in a moment with a family that's not for social media, that's a moment that you had with them. But social media is it's
everywhere.
How would you say that? It has its positives, and of course it has the negatives too. Yeah.
That's right.
All right, a question for you, sir. Is there such thing as volunteer burnout? And why do you think it happens?
I absolutely do think that there is such thing as volunteer burnout, because maybe some volunteers, they're becoming so focused on the long-term impact of their goals to the extent that they begin neglecting other important areas of their life, like their health, their education, and just stuff of that sort. And I can't emphasize how important this is, that you find your own support network and team that they can provide you with constructive criticism so that you can stay on the right path and
Great stuff.
to avoid that.
What do you think, Saira? You volunteer a lot. Tell me about burnout.
It happens, all right. I think, you know, as a young adult, then you try to find yourself, like you've said, volunteering is probably just an avenue some people can get really warped up with. And I think it comes to, you know, the greater journey of finding yourself and knowing what to dedicate yourself to. It's good to find causes, volunteering groups that you resonate with, but it's also important to have that balance. And I think at this stage of life, everyone's trying to, you know, fling pies to a wall and find out what sticks with them. And that could be like, I really should be cutting back on how much I'm dedicating to this, so I'm not neglecting other parts of my life. So like, I think it absolutely does happen, but I think it speaks to the wider, you know, journey of young people trying to find that balance that works with that.
Now, well said. But Tiana, I know you're in theatre a lot.
Yes.
Plug for Camden Musical Society. Well, if volunteering came with a superhero costume, what would yours look like, and what would your superpower be?
Well, let's speak about the costume first. But I don't know, I feel like very vibrant colors, maybe some yellows, some oranges, a bit of sequins won't kill anybody. But I feel like when it comes to a superpower, I feel like a great superpower would be like the power of empathy, just being able to see other people's stories and like kind of walk in their shoes and kind of like understand their journey to be able to then help provide and support them. Yeah.
No, that's excellent. Lynuel, do you have a costume?
This is gonna sound incredibly tacky and niche, but honestly, I hope that if I did wear a costume, it would just be everyday clothes. Because I would love for myself as a volunteer to be seen as approachable and relatable. If other people can see that my acts of kindness come from anyone that can be like them as well, then hopefully they can do the same.
All right, Daley. Do you think schools should make volunteering compulsory, or does that defeat the purpose?
I absolutely believe so. Main reason being, a lot of students at the current time feel very revolved around social media and what they take in on social media. And so it really disconnects them from their social life. Being out there in the community and seeing what impact you can have and how such small acts can go a long way.
Yeah.
It really helps the students realize what they do really matters, and how they spend their time also is very important.
Right.
So giving your life to community service helps you define that and emphasize that.
Excellent.
I'm going to stick with that side of the table. Because I want to really, you're 12 and years leading up to that. I want to really hear your thoughts on how volunteering has shaped your perspective on privilege and on gratitude. Yousef, I'd like to start with.
Well, coming from southwestern Sydney in the Miller and Busby area, I come from a population that's very socio-economically disadvantaged. So it isn't very unorderly to see people that are disadvantaged and that have needs that they must to get help with and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So even I'm in a classroom, I look around and just a diverse array of students, different needs, different issues they're experiencing.
Yeah.
So, and I definitely could not have asked for any more, because that definitely has been my mirror and magnifying glass on the opportunities that I have been given as a child, and I could not have asked for any more.
No, excellent. What do you think?
Definitely, volunteering has opened my eyes. It broadens the perspective. By working with children and answering with disabled kids, it really makes you think, what is a privilege? Even everything in our life, it is a privilege. It's no matter how much money you have or how many clothes you have, it really comes down to a question. And even basic things, everyday necessities, you don't even think of it, are not accessible, even though overseas the same privileges. What makes you really think. But also, by working with these, it broadens your horizon and you start to think different ways.
Absolutely. Daley, do you want to add anything to that?
They've highlighted pretty much everything. And I really relate to the value of gratitude.
Yeah.
Not taking what you have for granted. I now live my life after doing community work, that I shouldn't waste any moments that I have. It's invaluable. Just how much time we have. And there's a mentor of mine that I watched when I was younger. His name was Fred Rogers, and he shared that time is a 4-letter word, just like love, life, and hate. It matters not what it matters not how we spell it or how we define it, but more so how we use it towards people, more so how we use it towards ourselves, and just to really cherish those emotions, feelings, and values that make it all the more better.
So well said.
Beautiful. Thank you, Daley. All right, let's bring it back to this side of the table. Saira,
Yeah.
what if you want to make a difference, but your schedule and wallet say otherwise? Where do you start?
Well, I think there are a bunch of ways to jump into volunteering because you won't be the only person, struggling to juggle all of that. I think it's a matter of knowing what your priorities are and what you're realistically able, to contribute to. So, I'm involved in my current position with event management, but during the pandemic, I still found a way to volunteer. So, I used to do graphic design for a not-for-profit. So there will always be these opportunities that, are flexible for people to jump in just because we'll always have causes to root for. So they're out there, but you can't always just wait for them to pop pop in front of your door. You're going to have to be proactive about it too.
I'm laughing because I'm just like probably the wrong person to ask about that. You just figure it out, right? And then prioritize some things and, around, when I say figure it out, schedule-wise. Yeah, schedule-wise. And because each of the things that you do, I'm sure we all love. But we do need to prioritize what we can give to. Everything I learned, and I'm sharing this because of this young man here. How many years ago was that? 35 years when I started to do community work was actually in Miller. Yeah, and so my husband ran the Miller Youth Centre for 20 years. Daley's dad also worked with us at the Miller Youth Centre. And, we learnt so much in that community. And like you just said, young man, people kind of say, oh my gosh, you went to Miller? I go, oh my gosh, I did. And I was blessed because of the families that were in that community. Yeah. So when you talk about how do you manage schedules and finances, you can only do what you can do.
Yeah.
You've got to tell yourself that. Remind yourself that so you don't end up in the, with how we spoke about burnout.
Yes.
But sometimes people say, what's your strength? I say, oh, it's my passion. What's your weakness? My passion. You're not managing that. But you do what you can do.
That's right.
I would just like to add on to that.
Yes.
I have one quote that I literally live by. It's you have one hand to take and you have one hand to give. So no matter how full your schedule is, you can always make time for it. It's not about being the best volunteer, it's doing your best. And that's what really makes that difference. No matter what you give, that's it.
Yeah. Now that's really, really beautiful. I mean, we can continue this discussion and chat forever, but the clock tells me otherwise. So thank you, Saira, Tiana, Lynuel, Mal, Aruzhan, Yousef, and Daley for being with us here today.
Till next fortnight, let's continue to inspire, empower, and connect. And remember, your voice matters.